besties, and welcome back to the Paddocks. We are so happy you are here with us today. This episode, we are shining a much needed spotlight on the drivers who don't always get the kind of airtime that we really want them to get, especially compared to the front runners. Now, that's not to say that these drivers don't keep the season spicy in their own way, so grab a snack, stay hydrated, maybe pour yourself a coffee if you need it. Settle in with us on today's PGP episode. You have myself, Amy, Rachel, and Chelsea is joining us behind the scenes, and we are breaking down the bottom 10 of the grid. So, buckle up, besties, because even at the back of the grid, things can get pretty wild. Now, I am just going to jump right on in with a little rundown of how our bottom 10 drivers stack up as of this last race weekend. We are filming this pre-Baku, so keep that in mind when you are listening to this episode. Now, in 11th, we have Lance Stroll with 32 points. In 12th is Fernando Alonso with 30 points. 13th is Esteban Ocon with 28 points. 14th, Pierre Gasly with 20 points. 15th, Liam Lawson with 20 points. 16th, Gabriel Bortoleto with 18 points. 17th is Oliver Bierman with 16 points. 18th is Carlos Sainz with 16 points. 19th is Yuki Tsunoda with 12 points. 20th is Franco Colapinto with 0 points. And an honorable mention, technically speaking, in 21st is Jack Doohan with 0 points. We love you, King. We have to mention it, but that is the last time you will hear me mention Jack Doohan's name this episode, I think. I'm probably going to be wrong about that, but that's okay. Now, we do have to talk about the fact that these drivers have so many expectations and just pressure put on them for every season. And this could just be me, but I feel like there were some pretty big expectations for a lot of these drivers coming in to the 2025 season, between having drivers at new teams and new staff members at certain teams. I just feel like the expectations were like a whole different level this season.
I agree. I think, especially with rookies, there were some pretty unrealistic expectations placed on some of them. Two of them, namely, courtesy of their team principals, but that's another rant.
Now, when we're talking about all of these drivers and like our thoughts on them, we are going to run through this in Drivers' Championship standing. That was just like the easiest way for my brain when I was building this out. If you could see this document, y'all, it's a little crazy. There's a lot of color going on in here. If you know, you know, we love to color code stuff. But oh my god, the formatting was... I went a little crazy. But that's okay. It's what we needed to do to make this make sense. Now, we have to start out with Lance Stroll. I feel like, this is just my personal opinion, I think as a whole, everybody kind of expected more from Aston Martin as a team. But in my opinion, I feel like for Lance, the bigger hope was just consistency from him as a driver. And I feel like that's always been the expectation for Lance, is just like be consistent and like show up and like do your job. And I don't know if that's always like his thing. We have a friend.
Several friends, sorry. I definitely think people expected more from Aston Martin. I think we can attribute that mostly to them now having Adrian Newey, who's basically the god of aerodynamics. However, he has been said to be focusing on the 2026 car since the regulations are changing next year. I don't think he's been really focusing on the 2025 car unless there's some big glaring issue where he's like, I can't stand by and not let this be fixed. I think for Lance, consistency is definitely something people look for. I think they consistently look for him to crash into things, but that is It is consistent with his performance.
I mean, someone's got to take up the Canadian mantle of being a menace and crashing into things. I'm sorry. I know it's been a while since we've had Nicholas Latifi on the grid in any way, shape, or form, but like, he's the only other Canadian. He's got to do it.
As long as he's not crashing into the Ferraris, I really don't care. I don't really care.
It's a surefire way for things to be interesting. That is for sure. Uh-oh.
Sorry.
What's wrong?
Jimmy.
Oh. Did he unplug your mic?
He's trying to knock over my lamp.
Oh no.
He's been screaming at the ceiling all day.
Oh, poor baby. He's such a menace. I can't. This is gonna be fun. This is gonna be a fun night.
I'm so sorry.
It's fine. We love it. Of course, if we're talking about Aston and as they stack up in the standings, we have to talk about Fernando Alonso. I really personally expected that we were going to be seeing like a very racy, very like fighting for the points Fernando Alonso back again for this season. And I really felt like the team kind of thought that like they were going to do better as well. I don't know.
I think so. I feel like that Fernando is still there. I don't think he's ever going to not be there. But I just don't think the car is well suited for him. I think a lot of people, expected a lot in part due to Aston having Adrian Newey. Again, he's focused on the 2026 car. We're getting to that, especially now we're getting to that point in the season where like 2026 is right around the corner, which I don't want to talk about that. But I just don't think that the car is up to scratch, especially when it comes to Fernando.
No, there's definitely like, I wouldn't necessarily say it's quite as bad as like oil and water where they're not mixing, but like something is just not fully clicking, I think, the way they all thought it would. And that's okay. It happens. The driver that I think has surprised me the most in terms of where they're currently sitting in the standings is Esteban Ocon. With Esty moving over to Haas, for me, I was kind of nervous. I was not expecting things to necessarily go great. But in the back of my mind, I also was really hoping to see him maybe get a few more opportunities for points this season with just like maybe a more reliable car. Keyword being maybe. I was just definitely apprehensive because it's a new team. Like the cars are built very, very differently. You've got a rookie for a teammate. It's just a whole different experience, and I was very unsure how that was going to go.
I had similar feelings. I wasn't holding out a ton of hope. It's a Haas. I feel like he did, like, the Alpine last year was pretty good. And Haas's car is just never, it's not known to have been fantastic. It's not a great car. It's not bad. It gets the job done. It's literally a midfield car. What it is. And I think hopefully there will be more opportunities for points, but I'm not sure how many that will be. I think Haas is kind of, I never know what to expect with them.
They're very inconsistent. Sometimes the car is like surprising and you get a Kevin Magnussen like P1 in quali in like a sprint, and like sometimes you get the car just like not even making it to the start of a race. It's you never know.
Never know.
You truly never know with us. It's a little concerning. Now, if we're going to talk about Esteban Ocon, we kind of have to talk about his former teammate, Pierre Gasly.
His archenemy.
His archenemy, frenemies, whatever the heck you want to call them. Who really knows, honestly? But I will at least call them former teammates. I think the expectation for Pierre was more points, and on top of that, being the top driver, being the number one driver, being the guy for the team, especially after the podium last season. Like, that's just a lot of pressure on one person for a midfield team too.
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel like that it was a double podium in Brazil last year, wasn't it? That came out of nowhere. Brazil was also an extremely dangerous race. Like, the rain was insane. And we heard from so many drivers that it was not, like, extremely unsafe conditions. Plus, now we have Flavio Briatore in charge. We all know how I feel about him. I wouldn't want to be anybody at Alpine right now. I feel like the expectations for him, honestly, are a bit high. It's still Alpine. They're still, as you said, a midfield team. They have their moments, but those are few and far between. I really don't think that more points was something that was on the books for them this season. It wasn't what I expected, at least.
No, definitely not what I expected, but what I think the team and maybe the rest of the public and the paddock might have thought. But I was kind of just like, I'm not gonna, like, I, for one, am never going to hold my breath for Alpine. Like, I loved Renault when Renault was Renault and, like, actually half decent, but I still never held my breath for Renault. Like, it's just, they're not there yet. We'll see what happens in 2026.
I don't know. I never hold my breath hold out a lot of hope for the French in general, so. Sorry.
Oh my god, I love you.
Except when it comes to a revolution. They got us beat there.
Oh my god, Rachel, oh, I love you. The driver that I'm surprised that they are where they are. I think for a lot of people, the expectations for Liam Lawson were not, like, high at all. I think the bar was really and truly on the floor for him in some ways. I think with Liam starting at Red Bull, I feel like the expectation really was for him to keep up with Max, or at minimum stay closer to him in the standings than Checo did last season. I feel like there was, like, all of the pressure and none of the pressure on Liam, like, kind of at the same time, if that makes any sense.
It makes sense. I feel like the public did not have high hopes for him. The fans and a lot of people just were like, I think everyone was questioning that decision to put a rookie in a Red Bull. I feel like that is just not something we've really seen outside of Max. Now you can also argue, is Liam technically a rookie because he did so many races, but that's a different argument. I think that Horner had high expectations for him. Again, I think in Horner's head, he thinks that if Max can drive the car and get points and get on the podium, then whoever is in the second seat should be able to do the same, which is unrealistic, and I will die on the hill that Max is an anomaly. He is not the standard, and everybody who's running a team seems to think that he is the standard. I think that putting a rookie in a car that was already not performing well, we all know what Checo had been saying about the car, was just not a feasible plan. I didn't even want Yuki in the seat. I didn't want anybody in that seat. I feel like that seat might as well not exist at this point. I have a lot of opinions on the Red Bull second seat. Sorry.
Yes, girl, I think a lot of people have a lot of thoughts on the Red Bull second seat. I very much so agree that I think that Horner probably thought if Max can drive it, then anybody should be able to drive it. If that's the case, then clone Max. Like, that's what you need. If that's how you're gonna think about your second car, then, like, figure out how to clone your first driver. That's literally what you gotta do.
Or put Charles in that car. I feel like I will say this, like a broken record until my dying breath, Charles is the only one who can actually go toe-to-toe with Max. Put Charles in that car. Let's see what happens.
That would be wild as hell.
It's better than the Ferrari, so.
Yes.
There's quite a few cars that are better than the Ferrari, but
you're not wrong, girl. Now, another rookie I feel like we do need to talk about is Gabriel Bortoleto. I feel like a lot of people, to a lot of people, I think Gabby was kind of a wild card choice. Now, yes, he won F2, but I feel like a lot of people didn't really know what to expect from Gabby. I think a lot of F1 fans don't necessarily always keep an eye on F2, so they don't totally understand. Like, yeah, okay, he won, but like, how did he actually perform? And when you look at like his stats and his racing history, he really does have just like a killer background, and he's really good behind the wheel of a car. I think the fact that he was a rookie at stake, I think the expectations were probably pretty minimal. But I think a lot of people just kind of didn't know what to expect from him in particular.
I agree. I also agree that I feel like a lot of people don't really watch F2. They don't really think about it. But I think all of that, plus, you have Fernando as his manager. I feel like that definitely makes people look at him in almost a little bit of a different light. But again, like you said, like he's in a Sauber. He's at stake. It's a midfield car. It's hard to perform super, super well in a midfield car sometimes. I mean, there's only so much the driver can do to make up for the shortcomings of the car. So I feel like for me, driving skill, I expect a lot from him. But like as far as the car was concerned, I was like, I really don't expect them to be super high in the standings.
No.
It's just not something I expect from a Sauber.
No, and I think the same thing could be said for another rookie in Ollie Bierman. I feel like Ollie had a lot of pressure on him from when he scored points when he was filling in for Carlos, but in some ways that also to me feels really unfair, because points in a Ferrari versus points in a Haas, like, not necessarily the same thing. There's only so much you can do with the car that you're given, and he's being given a midfield car. Like, there's really only so much he can do. I'm at least happy to see him pulling in points when he can, but I'd love a little bit more consistency.
I mean, there's definitely a big difference in a Ferrari and a Haas. Maybe not this season. Last season for sure. I don't know about this season. Debatable. I think Ollie still has a ton of potential. I think all of the rookies have a ton of potential, and we're just not getting to see it because he's in a Haas. I mean, and I feel like a lot of people forget that, but he has been doing his best for sure, and I think that we have a lot more to see from him.
Now, we are almost kind of towards the end of our list of drivers to cover with preseason expectations. And I hate that this particular driver is so far down in the standings, and that is Carlos Sainz. Now, all of you, in terms of the PGP girlies, already know how I feel about this swap. But most people who have listened to this podcast also have probably heard me say that I was so concerned about this swap. I was so nervous. My personal expectations for Carlos in a Williams were like a bar on the floor. I was expecting like nothing. And I mean, he was moving to Williams. They're not a team that we've seen perform consistently. So like, of course your expectations are going to be like on the floor.
I think broadly speaking with the fans, the expectations for this move was a massively mixed bag. I mean, a lot of people expected him to do shockingly well, and a lot of others expected not a lot, because it's a Williams, you know? I can see Clover now. I think that for me, I agree, like that swap. I feel like he could have I would have loved to I would love to understand how those negotiations went, because like there were a lot of open seats and he had a lot more time than I think almost any of the other drivers.
There were a lot of rumors about a lot of teams that were supposedly in talks with him. I want to know I want to know, was the plan always Williams, or did somebody screw up and like you played the game a little too hard and other people went, yeah, no, I'm good. I have so many questions.
I think it's the latter. I don't think Williams was always the plan, because it's Williams, you know? I feel like somewhere along the way, someone messed something up. Because we also saw it was his cousin, who's his manager, that was doing a lot of the negotiations. And then at one point, his dad had to come in. And that's when I started questioning, being like, okay, who did what wrong? Because the fact that his dad stepped in, I was like, that's concerning.
Yikes.
I am a little bit surprised to see him so low, but we'll talk about that later. But yeah, for me going into this, I didn't expect a lot. It's still a Williams. They were struggle busing last year. They've been struggle busing for a hot minute.
I don't even know how long.
I don't even know how long. And
Too long. Too long.
It's definitely one of those teams where like it doesn't matter. I feel like it really is hard to be.
Doesn't matter.
Who the driver doesn't matter. The car is just not up to scratch.
We have to talk about Yuki Tsunoda, and I feel like Yuki. We all love Yuki. Yuki is iconic. Yuki is underrated as hell. But I feel like for Yuki, the expectations were for him to just like kind of continue his growth that we had seen from him and just continue to improve and continue to show that he's reliable. At least for me, that's what I really was just like hoping to see out of him, was like to see more growth and see just Yuki kind of start to like find his groove and like truly just like settle in.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, a lot of the fans really wanted Yuki to get that second Red Bull seat. I was skeptical because, again, it's the second Red Bull seat. And then when he didn't, the expectations for him just kind of stayed where they were. You know, see him get a little bit better, grow a little bit more. For me, when we're going into the season, him still being at V-Carb, I expected points. And I don't know if I really expected podiums, but I expected points because that car is better than the Red Bull. I think we all know that now. So for me, I did expect maybe a few more points, but when the swap happened, questionable.
We do have to talk about our final driver on the list, and that is Franco Colapinto. I can truly say I really didn't think that I was going to be seeing Franco this season. But here we are. My expectations for Franco were just like non-existent. I was just like, he's going to do whatever is going to happen. He's in an Alpine. It's a completely different car than the other car he was in last season. I did not know what to expect, but I really did not think we were going to see him this season.
Did not think we were going to see him this season. I'm shocked that Williams even loaned him out. I know that James Vowles kind of seemed like he was fighting that, because there were some teams that wanted him, but James didn't want to loan him out because it was whatever's going on with those contracts. Anyway, Vowles just seemed so hell-bent on keeping him in Williams. That's why I was kind of shocked when it was like announced that it was Franco and not, who is Alpine's reserve driver? Robert?
Paul.
Thank you. Paul. I feel like Paul would have done so well. Anyway, Franco, honestly, not gonna lie, I forget he's there sometimes.
Yeah. You're not wrong, girl.
I forget there's a second Alpine, so.
I mean...
I forget there's a second Red Bull sometimes. It
happens. It happens. It's fine.
Listen, most of the races are at like 6 a.m. for me, so I am like half asleep. Can't do much about it.
No, unless you move. Sorry. You live in California, girl.
I'm good where I am.
Obviously, we do have to talk about how the season so far has been for these drivers. We do only have 8 races left on the calendar, so that is something also to keep in mind, which is crazy to think about. I feel like this season has just like blown by. I feel like I've blinked and we're like almost done. It's a little crazy.
Yeah.
But of course, again, following where they stand in the driver's standings, Lance Stroll. Now, honestly, did I see Lance getting points? Yes. Did I somehow see him getting more points than his teammate? No. That was not at all on my bingo card for him. I did not see this coming. I was not expecting, with 8 races left in this season, to see Lance Stroll just like casually chilling in 11th. Like, no, not at all.
Yeah. I definitely did not expect him to be doing better than Fernando. That's interesting to me. I do think he's been doing pretty well. I mean, he's been relatively consistent. He's had a few top 10 finishes. He's obviously, because he's got points. He's yet to DNF. I did look at this. He's not DNF'd this season, which for him, pretty impressive. Especially since Fernando has DNF'd, I think, 3 times. I think it makes it almost more surprising that he has more points than Alonso. If Lance is doing that well, it really makes me question what's going on with Fernando, at least with his car, you know?
I think the crazier thing is also to think about the fact that, like, well, yes, Lance hasn't DNF'd a race. He has crashed how many times between practices and qualies this season? It's a little crazy the amount of times that, like, he's had a moment in one of those sessions, but, like, somehow pulls it together for a race.
God bless those engineers. They better be getting paid well. I don't think they are, but they better be. They better get them a raise.
Give them a really good raise and a really good holiday bonus. Of course, if we're talking about Lance, we have to talk about Fernando. Of the 16 races that we've had so far, he has only scored points in 6. 6 races are the only races he has scored points in. That's absolutely crazy. He finished last season in 9th with 70 points, and he currently only has 40 points, and he's currently 40 points behind at this point in time in the season for this year. And I just don't think that was really how he or the team really saw this season going for them.
Yeah, he's had, out of those 16 races that we have had, he has DNF'd 4 times. I said 3 like 5 minutes ago. It's 4. Had to fact check myself. Which is insane, considering, like you said, Lance being like a time crashed so many times in practices and stuff, and not DNFing in any race. Maybe that's why he hasn't DNF'd in any races, because he's getting the crashes and everything out in practice and quality. Anyway, I'm gonna say also, out of the 6 races where he finished out of the points, 3 of those were in 11th. So that's pretty good. Like I said, I think we still have a Fernando who's got fight left in him. I don't think Fernando's ever not gonna have fight in him. He just needs a better car. Or maybe he just needs to DNF or to like crash in quali and or practice, and that'll maybe he won't have any bad luck in the race. It's a theory.
I love the theory. Are you kidding?
Thank you.
Of course, we have to talk about Esty. I feel like Esty and Haas have been really going through it together, just trying to figure it all out. And like, sometimes it goes well and sometimes it doesn't. I feel like they just aren't quite meshing just yet. And part of me can't tell if it's just this car with these current regulations, but something is just not, it is not mixing well at all.
Yeah, I mean, to Estes' credit, he has been rolling with the punches. He's been taking it in stride, I think. Has he been doing super well? No, but he is doing the best with what he's got. I think having, is it Io as their TP? Having Io as the TP, and I said this last season, I think it's made a big difference.
I agree.
Who knows, maybe the reason they're not gelling is because Haas is an American team and Este's French. I don't know. I will always come back to that, though.
Well, speaking of Frenchmen, I guess, we do have to talk about Pierre Gasly. Thank you for that fantastic segue.
You're welcome.
You cannot tell me. Guys, I absolutely refuse to believe that Pierre Gasly isn't absolutely annoyed that he is being outdone by his former teammate who is driving a Haas. I feel like the issues for Pierre for this season, to me, it feels more car and less Pierre to blame than like Pierre not doing what he's supposed to. I feel like the car is just like not it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's still an LP. There's not a lot you can do. I mean, I think Pierre's been doing well as individually as the driver. I think the car is questionable at times, most of the time. I don't think he's happy that his former teammate is doing better than him, especially because it's not like Este's. I mean, who knows? Maybe he'd be more pissed if Este was doing like significantly better than him. But like the fact that he's just right there, right one above him,
So close.
I feel like that's almost somehow so much worse. Like just so much more infuriating.
Absolutely, it's like that'd probably be the equivalent of being stuck behind him in a race all season and having to see him like finish in the points while you're in 11th, and it's like, God damn it, really?
Yeah.
Pardon my French, y'all.
I definitely think that his ego's maybe a little bit bruised. I don't know Pierre personally. But as a driver, he is doing well. As with the car,
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely agreed. There's just something is not right with Alpine this season, and that's fine. And hopefully next season is better.
Maybe what's not right is Flavio Briatore.
I'm always one for the Flavio at all because he's chaos. Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
It's Flavio. At this point, I really wouldn't be surprised. Another driver that I feel like absolutely has to have, like, there's no doubt he does not have a bruised ego, is Liam Lawson. Because I feel like Liam has had such a wild season from starting at Red Bull to getting dropped down to V-Carb. Like, there have just been so many punches for him to have to roll with, but you cannot tell me that his ego is not beyond bruised, because that's gotta suck.
100%. I mean, Liam needed to go to V-Carb first. I think that the entire F1 fandom was shouting to the heavens last season, like during silly season when we were waiting that Yuki needed to be in the Red Bull second seat and Liam needed to go to V-Carb. I also think that Christian Horner, for whatever reason, thinks that, or thought, because he's not there anymore, thank God, that he cannot get it through his head that the V-Carb is a better car than the Red Bull. Because it is. Max is just an anomaly, again. And I feel like he's like, oh, well, Liam's doing great in the V-Carb, he'll do great in the Red Bull. No, the V-Carb is a better car. He is not ready for Red Bull. I think it would have been so much easier for him. He would have had much more realistic expectations put on him. And it just didn't. I mean, Horner dropped in, 2 races into the season? I don't even think he got a fair fighting chance, personally. But
absolutely not.
At least, like, Jack got 7 races. Like, Do not mistake that, though, as me giving slack to Flavio Briatore. I still don't like him. Dropping Jack was unfair, but dropping Liam 2 races into the season down to Racing Bulls.
Wild.
Why? Why would you put him in the Red Bull in the first place if you're just going to drop him down 2 races into the season?
Yeah.
I think he's been doing better, and I think we saw after he got dropped back down, V-Carb welcoming him back. The dynamic shift and probably the morale shift is insane, especially now that Laurent is at Red Bull. I feel like the vibes just seem like they're better.
Absolutely.
But we all know that Horner was the problem, so.
We do have to talk about some of the other rookies. I feel like we have to talk about Gabriel Bortoletto. I personally just feel like it has been such a journey for our little Brazilian rookie. And that's kind of like all I really got to say about his season so far. Is it has been a journey.
I would love to see how he does in a top car, honestly. I feel like we're not getting to see his full potential. I don't know if we will see this full potential this season. I don't know if we'll see it next season. Next season we have Audi and new regs, so who knows? Could be totally different. I don't know. Because Audi is supplying their own power unit. So maybe there will be a little bit of a shakeup. I don't know. But I do think he has been doing relatively well with what he has. And he's been very good at rolling with the punches.
I feel like Ollie is a driver who has also been through an absolute journey so far and has definitely had to roll with some punches because he just has not quite gelled with his car. Similarly to Esty, and that makes me kind of feel like it's more the car than it is the drivers.
I agree. I think Ollie's had a very interesting season. There's not much else to say. Like you said, like they're not really gelling. Neither driver's really gelling with the car. It could be that, I mean, it's honestly, it could be just that it's a new team for both of them. So it's a different, I mean, not super new team for Ollie because he was their reserve driver, but still, who knows? It just seems like it is more the car, though. Ollie has been doing pretty well. I mean, he dragged that Haas from pit lane to like 6th place, P20 something to 6th place last weekend. Like, come on. Or no, sorry, maybe that was Zandvoort. I don't know. My weeks are blurring together at this point. Either way, at some point, he had actually, I think several times this season, he's gone from like the bottom to almost the points or in the points, which is crazy. Again, we're not seeing his full potential, similar to Gabby.
And a driver that, again, because of the car, we're not seeing their potential, their full potential. We're not really seeing much of them in the way that we would like to, is Carlos Sainz. Y'all, I cannot lie, seeing Chile so low in these standings just like constantly hurts my soul because we all know that he can perform. Yet again, he is not gelling with this car because Alex Albon is doing just dandy.
This might be controversial, but I'm not super surprised. I feel like it with Williams, even with upgrades and stuff, they're still finding their footing with James Vowles. They're still finding their footing with so many different things that have made that like changes that have been made. And now Carlos is coming in, so for him this is obviously it's a new car, duh. But like, I'm not gonna say he's not totally used to driving a midfield car because like let's be real, that Ferrari questionable. So, but I feel like they're still on that learning curve and it's not really ending anytime soon. We've got new regs next season. Fingers crossed that it'll be better, but at the same time, like, there's just such a learning curve there. I feel like as a driver, I am surprised to see Carlos so low, but in the car he's in, I'm not.
not surprised. No.
Because Alex has been driving that Williams for like
Years.
Like, I don't know how many years. Years. And he knows, so he knows. He knows what he's doing. He knows that, like...
Yeah. You learn the things that make your machine tick when you're driving a car with probably the same quirks for so long.
Yeah. Thank you.
No, I knew what you meant.
You know what I mean.
We do have to talk about Yuki. Obviously, it sucks seeing Yuki so far down in the standings, but I feel like now that we have Laurent at the team at Red Bull, I feel like we're going to see a much more confident Yuki, which I think is going to do him well. He's had it's a wild ride to go from being at one team to a whole different team that's going through so much turmoil. Like, you cannot tell me that, like, all of that excess noise doesn't impact you as a driver, and that can be a hard thing to turn off and to shut out. So Yuki being as far down as he is, knowing what he was dealing with, isn't to me like the biggest surprise, but like it still sucks.
Yeah. I think if he had stayed at V-Carb, if there hadn't been a swap made, we probably would have seen that V-Carb on the podium a lot sooner. Like, I feel like that's not a super out there opinion.
No.
Horner getting sacked was long overdue. I think we all can kind of agree on that. It has given me a lot of hope for Yuki's future at Red Bull with Laurent now stepping in. I think we've seen already, 2 weeks in, we saw the shift with Laurent being put in as TP. I think that Yuki is going to get more help per se, but like they'll listen to him more. His opinions will be taken into consideration a little bit more than if it was Horner. I think we all can agree that, like, if it wasn't Max's opinion, Horner didn't really care. I have a lot more hope for Yuki for next season. The rest of this season, I'm not really sure. Again, I think a lot of the teams are getting to that point where they're just going to start really focusing on the 2026 car, and there's not really going to be any upgrades brought unless they're super necessary. So my hope for him this season is not crazy high, but for next season, I think we'll be able to see a lot more Yuki in the points. Fingers crossed.
Last on our list, as always, it seems. Sorry, Franco, that's a little shady, but it is none other than Franco Colapinto. Y'all, I can't lie. His season has it's really gone just about how I thought it would go, if I'm being really honest. I know that sounds really bad. I like Franco, but I really don't know if Franco is quite as strong of a driver as people think he is. I think he needs some more time. It's another situation of I also don't think he's gelling with the car, but I really kind of am just starting to feel like I don't know if Franco is as strong of a driver as people are making him out to be.
I agree. I feel like a lot of people expected so much more from him. Honestly, I don't think he was ready. It feels similar to what happened with Liam. Franco did well enough in the races that he was in 2024, considering he was in a Williams. I think maybe there's less pressure when you're just like filling in for a driver and you're not, it's temporary, you're not permanently a driver. And then when you become a full-time permanent driver, expectations are significantly higher. And I think in your mind, there's more pressure. Because like when you're temporary, you're filling in, you're like, oh, there's an end date. I'm still new. But now it's like, there's so much more pressure.
Absolutely. No.
And then again, Flavio Briatore, I feel like questionable.
So much pressure. So much pressure.
So much pressure.
And especially after seeing how quickly Flavio pulled Jack, and like knowing that your team principal is somebody who is cutthroat, and knowing kind of the history about him, that's definitely a lot to deal with during a season. Now, if you guys have been listening to PGP for any semblance of time, you know that we absolutely love to do predictions. So we are going to try our hand at predicting how the rest of the season is going to go for our bottom 10, along with how 2026 could go for them. Now, of course, heading into 2026, we will definitely see a shakeup because we've got new regulations. So there's probably going to be a massive shakeup in the standings. So that is something to keep in mind. You're going to probably hear us say, "Oh my God, things could be totally different," a lot. It's because it's the truth.
Yeah.
It's the truth. Things could be absolutely crazy. We have no idea. No one will really know until preseason testing. And even then, we won't really have a clue until we actually get cars on the track for 2026. But I am personally predicting just absolute chaos for 2026. And I'm here for it. First up on our list is Lance Stroll. Now, low-key, I don't know what I want to see happen with this one, but what I do know is that I think this next season is going to be very telling for Lance and Aston Martin and Lance's future within F1, because at this point I feel like Lance is becoming the butt of a joke. And it sucks to see.
Yeah, I think he's been the butt of a joke for quite a while. That's another conversation. I think he'll be fine the rest of the season. Honestly, I think he'll be consistently in the midfield. I don't think there's going to be anything crazy impressive from him unless he finishes the season without a DNF. That would be kind of impressive for him, in my opinion, at least. Next season will be telling. I think it'll be extremely interesting for Aston Martin in general because, again, they have the god of aerodynamics, Adrian Newey. I feel like they're the team I'm most excited to see next year. But with that, I don't know what to expect either.
We also have to talk about Fernando Alonso. At this point, for me and Fernando, with the rest of the season, I am predicting that we see some more Fernando points this season, and we see even more Fernando in the points next season, and hopefully a better car next season because, as Rachel said, Adrian Newey is involved. So expectations will be very high.
Similar to how I feel for Lance, my hopes are not super high for Fernando for the rest of the season. I really want to see him more on the points. I think everybody kind of does. With Newey at the helm, again, my hopes are very high, and I'm very interested to see what happens for them. I feel like I'm very excited to see because I feel like Fernando and Newey hopefully are like working. I don't know because I don't work there, but I hope that they're like working, and I knew he's probably taking things into consideration that the drivers, especially a driver like Fernando with so many years of experience in F1, his opinions and his thoughts on certain things, I think we'll see more maybe after testing. But my hopes are high for sure.
We do have to move on to SD Bestie. Something is telling me that SD and Haas are gonna kind of like fall off these last few races. I, for next season, have very, very, very low expectations for this pairing. I am very much so feeling like they're still not gonna gel next season. Even more so, they're not gonna gel because you're tossing in new regulations on top of a driver and a system that are not pairing well together, and then you're gonna chuck in new regulations. That's just like asking for absolute chaos and carnage.
Yeah, I'm not holding out hope for these last races for Haas in general. I think as far as next season goes, it's a toss-up. Who knows? But the rest of the season, I think so many teams, Haas especially, are going to be focusing on next season's car. They're going to put a lot of their efforts into that, and I just don't foresee a ton of improvement.
I think for Pierre Gasly, it's kind of the similar situation of, I think Alpine has definitely shifted their focus to next season's car. In terms of my predictions for Pierre for the rest of this season, I don't really know if I have any major predictions. What I'm hoping for is that Alpine gets their car together for the rest of the season so we do get some more Pierre Gasly points. I am very nervous for next season for Pierre with Alpine. I really and truly just, I don't know how next season is going to go for them. I think they could surprise us, or they could give us pretty much what they've been giving, which is just
Nothing.
mid.
Yeah, my faith is low for this one. I think Pierre could do so well. I think we could totally see him in the points. That Alpine is just not it, and Alpine is just not getting it together. I feel like maybe if they had their driver situation settled for that second seat, it would be different, but I feel like that's what it just feels like that's what the whole team is focused on. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but I feel like that's just like so much of the talk about Alpine, and that car is just not taken into consideration. Granted, again, they could just be focusing on the 2026 car. That's where we're heading at this point in the season, but something needs to get it together for Pierre. He is doing his best, and he is carrying the team right now.
I do want to chat about Liam Lawson, because part of me really wants to be able to predict more points for him in the future. I do think we could maybe see some points for Liam, like here and there, but I'm not saying like, oh, we're gonna get Liam finishing in the top 5. I'm thinking like between 7th and 10th, pretty much. I really don't think that we're gonna see anything wildly inspiring from him the rest of this season. I think next year it's really going to be a toss-up for him. I think next year potentially could be make or break for Liam. That's my prediction.
No, I agree. I think he'll be fine for the rest of the season, but that's kind of it. I think it'll be midfield, maybe some points, but not, top 6, top 5. I don't think they'll drop him mid-season next season. I think, fingers crossed, those days are over for Red Bull. I mean, Helmut Marko is still there, so but I do think that if he does not improve next season, that's probably going to be it for him. And honestly, that is something that it could be it for him overall in F1.
Find out. Only time will tell.
Only time will tell.
A driver I think has really, or I'm at least really hoping, has a better end to his season is Gabriel Bortoleto. I am really predicting more points. It will bring me so much joy. Please, universe, make that happen. Thank you very much. As for next season, I do think that the full infusion of Audi money is really going to be beneficial for the team. Hopefully, that means that we're going to have a little bit more of a reliable car for them. I do think if that's able to happen, that Gabby can really start to show his true potential. But it's really going to come down to, did they build the right car?
I am praying to the F1 gods that we see Gabby in the points more. I can definitely see the Audi money helping a lot. But I'm interested to see how their power unit performs. Like you said, it's a question of if they build a good car. I feel like with new cars, it's such a toss up. Like new power units coming into play, and new regulations, there's so many variables. I genuinely do not know what to expect. I feel like it could go super, super well. It could go super, super bad, or it could just be like what they've been doing with Sauber and just be like straight middle.
Yeah. I think Ollie Bierman and Haas are kind of in the same boat, where I think the rest of this season, now everybody knows that I adore Ollie, but I think for the rest of this season, I'd love to see more points from him. I don't think they're going to be like major point hauls similar to the situation with Gabby. I think they're just going to kind of like, they'll grab a few more, but it's not going to be anything of like major substance. Definitely not like podium finishes. But I think the new regulations could be a game changer for him. Ollie is a really talented driver. It's just, again, I feel like I'm saying the same things over and over again, but it's the truth. It's really and truly going to depend on what the heck the car is for next year. I am so excited. I think it's going to give us maximum chaos, but I think it's also a similar situation of like I had for SD. I have low expectations for Ollie and Haas going into the 2026 season because it's a Haas.
Yeah, my expectations when it comes to Haas overall are always just like pretty low. I'm not holding out hope for any points, at least a lot of them in the next few races. I also I think we could see a couple more moments from Ollie like he has been, like going from like P20 to almost in the points, if not in the points. I do think we can see a couple more moments from him like that. I don't think we'll see him on a podium. Honestly, I would be more surprised to see a Haas on the podium than I was to see Nico on the podium. I'm just saying. Next season is total toss-up, but my hopes are not high at all.
We have reached our like final 3 drivers to give our predictions on. And honestly, for me, this driver, y'all know we all love Carlos Sainz here. At this point, for me, I will settle for just like a few more points for Chile. I am not asking for anything crazy, please. F1 gods, if you're listening, just a few more points will do. I would love some major point hauls, but I will take what I can get at this point. I am really, really hoping that we get to see a more consistent and quick Williams with these new regulation changes, but there's a big asterisk and a question mark next to that.
I'm honestly not too sure if we'll see any more points from Williams this season. We might. But it just doesn't seem like any of the upgrades that they've been bringing, anything has really been doing much, other than keeping the car on the track for the whole race. And we're getting to that point in the season, again, where teams are going to start putting their all into next season's car. And I also kind of like, part of me wonders if maybe James Vowles himself has been a little bit more concerned with that car since those regulations came out last season. Because I feel like that is more of the like true James Vowles led car. I could be totally wrong. I think the rest of the season upgrades are going to be few and far between. Williams is one of the teams that doesn't have as much money to put into things. So like if they have the choice between this year and next year, they're going to probably focus on next year. I'm very curious to see how they do with the new regulations in that case. But my hopes, unfortunately, are not very high for the rest of this season.
No, but a driver I have very high hopes for the rest of the season is Yuki Tsunoda. I am so hoping, praying, manifesting for more points for Yuki. At the bare minimum, y'all, I am manifesting a better season next year and a stable seat for Yuki Tsunoda. That is the bare minimum that I need.
Yeah. I need more Yuki in the points. I would love to see a Yuki podium. I don't know if that'll happen this season. I don't know. This car is just... Max is doing great. We know that. But the Red Bull itself is a questionable car. I second your manifestations of having a stable seat and more points next season. I'm really interested to see. I definitely think this seat will be more stable. Again, though, Marco is still there. Horner might be gone, but Marco is still there. But I feel like Laurent can hold his own and will hold his own for his drivers. I'm not super concerned about Marco. He's also very old, so.
The final driver on our list is Franco Colapinto. Now, I do kind of wish that I could predict points for Franco, but I feel like Franco is on the chopping block in a way. Now, according to the F1 silly season rumor mill, Flavio Briatore has said he's going to make a final decision on Alpine's 2026 seat by late October, and that Franco is going to continue to be evaluated until then. Personally, I have a hard time with the concept of Alpine, like, maybe keeping him when they dropped Jack for a lot less, and they're matched for points and or lack thereof points, because neither of them have scored a single point. And Franco has had more time, so I've got Flavio, I have friggin' questions, dude. Because I have questions. Make it make sense. But in theory, we'll know what's going on if we're gonna get Franco for 2026 or not by late October. What that means, I don't know. I don't know who their other options are, but I cannot predict any Franco points for this season, and I don't even want to try my hand at predicting 2026 because we don't even know if he's going to be in the car.
Yeah, no, for real. My hopes for Franco are not high for the rest of the season. I don't think that we'll see him in the points. I don't love that he's on basically a race by race basis. That's so much pressure. And again, like you said, I have such a hard time with them possibly keeping him when they drop Jack after 7 races for less, like you said, like for less, like for what? I think late October lands us. That lands us like after there's 3 races in October. We've got like 2 left this month, I think. I know it's like what 5-6 races. Plus a sprint or 2. I know there's one in Austin. I don't remember where the other sprints are. I think maybe the reason that they haven't dropped Franco is because of all of the backlash that the teams got when they did make those swaps, when, Red Bull made the swap with Yuki, and then when Alpine made the swap with Franco and Jack. I think as far as their options, they could bring Jack back. I think Flavio was his manager, so, which, again, questionable decision. They could put Paul in the seat. They could go rogue and take a totally different driver. They could put a rookie in the seat. I don't know. I have absolutely no predictions for Alpine for next season. I don't even want to try to understand the mind that Flavio Briatore has. I don't think they'll drop Franco the rest of the season, though.
No, Franco is absolutely going to finish out the 2025 season with Alpine. I have so many questions on their 2026 second seat, and it makes it really hard for me when I make full predictions for Alpine for 2026, because I'm like, well, it depends on who your second driver is.
I think that one of the things that could keep Franco in that seat is the sponsorship money he brings in, because if I remember correctly, he brings in like close to-ish Checo money. And we know how much Checo brings in. He brings in allegedly, from what I've heard, Franco brings in a lot of Argentinian sponsors. He brings in a lot of that money that they wouldn't otherwise see. So I'm also kind of wondering if that's a factor in deciding where that seat. I think it is. Because I don't think Flavio's really concerned about what everybody thinks of him. I think that the Alpine PR team cares a lot about what people think of the team, but I don't think Flavio really gives I don't think Flavio cares. So
no, not at all. It's Flavio.
I don't think anybody, I don't think even the best psychic in the world can predict what's going to happen with Alpine for 2026.
No, trust me, y'all. I tried. I really and truly did. I tried so hard. Tarot cards, pendulum, the whole 9 yards. I got nothing. Not a single thing. I have no idea. Maybe we'll try again, and we'll come back later in the season with a prediction for Alpine's 2026 second seat of what that's going to look like for them at the end of the season when we know who the heck it is.
Yeah. No, that's very, very true. Maybe my predictions will come after testing next year. But I cannot let this episode pass without mentioning that I want to say the Chaos King himself, Max, and his Nürburgring GT race debut this weekend, which he did so he could get his I think it's DMSB permit to race faster GT4 cars. Because this man doesn't take a day off. I think we are aware of this. He's either iRacing or actually racing in just like a different series. I think if he could do MotoGP, he probably would. So he raced, he did all the things that he needed to do to get that permit, got it, promptly dipped, got on his plane, went home to prepare for the next stop on the F1 calendar, Baku. And y'all know street circuits are always full of drama. They are full of chaos. We cannot wait to break that all down with you guys, for you guys, next weekend. In the meantime, make sure you follow us on socials so you don't miss any updates, behind the scenes content, or overall chaos from the paddock, which we know there will be. And you can find us at Paddock Girls Podcast on Instagram, YouTube, Threads, and TikTok. Except for Twitter, we are Paddock Girls Pod. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you in the next race. Bye!